Thank you for coming. We're going to discuss nutrition in medicine. The purpose of this presentation is to be able to actively talk to your patient about any nutritional recommendations that are necessary for them to maintain good health at the time of diagnosis, and even just as a risk precaution to make sure that they're safe in now and tomorrow. So, nutrition in medicine, what we're basically going to discuss, we're going to go through a few introductory points pertaining nutrition. Then we shall look at how to prescribe a diet prescription. Then we shall discuss malnutrition in children, obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. So the points to note are, first of all, what we're going to do is define nutrition. Nutrition is simply the relationship between food and health. And under nutrition, we have macronutrients and micronutrients. The macronutrients are what we require in large amount, and the micronutrients are what we require in small amounts. For the micronutrients, you have things like the vitamins and the minerals like zinc, copper, etc. And the macros, we have the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. Then there's what determines your energy requirements. That's the third point I wanted to go through before we start. What determines how much energy you're going to consume? How much energy that your body needs in terms of food. And in nutrition, we count that as in terms of calories, kilocalories. So how many calories does your body need? There are determinants that determine this, like age, sex, your basal metabolic rate, and your physical activity. These are the main things that are going to determine how many calories that your body requires. And there's something that we call recommended dietary allowances. There are many dietary recommended intakes, but the RDAs are what's most used in the whole world. The recommended dietary allowances, I'm sure you've heard of those. And different macronutrients and micros have different RDAs. So most of the micronutrients that we require, we get them from different foods in very minute amounts, and at the end of the day, we find that we have actually reached our RDA for the micronutrients. This is where the macros come into play. The macros, you might not necessarily reach your desired amount of micronutrients in order to hit your target, that we shall see how to calculate your target calorie intake, which is your energy intake. And also one thing I want to mention is that calories are in scientific terms, we can call them calories or kilocalories. Calories is the amount of energy required to increase the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So if you were to find your calorie count, I think some of you have heard of bomb calorimetry. Yeah, in physics. So that's basically what they used initially before they came up with the values and the calculations in order to find out your daily caloric intake. Then what else we're going to discuss is proteins. Now, proteins is a very important macronutrient. We have proteins, carbs, and fats. Now, for the carbohydrates, our RDA is not specific because we have mechanisms in our body that manufacture glucose, which are things like gluconeogenesis, glycogenolysis, and the salt. I'm sure you're very well aware with those, right? So the only recommendation that we have for the carbohydrates is that a normal person should not go below 100 grams of carbohydrates in their diet. But then, pertaining a certain limit, there's no limit. You can go above, if possible, anyways. Then with the proteins, we're recommended to have around 10 to 15% of protein in our diet, with at least 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body mass. And in the proteins, proteins are made out of amino acids. So there are the essential amino acids and the non-essential amino acids. In the essential amino acids, I would like this discussion to be more interactive so that I don't feel like I'm a lecturer. So with the essential amino acids, we have things like what? Can anyone tell me? Uh-huh. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so clear. Histidine? No, please don't agree with every answer. So we have seen the essentials, the tryptophan, the leucine, the isoleucine, the lysine, the metformin, yeah. So then we have the non-essentials. The non-essentials are aside from those ones. So in proteins, we have complete proteins and incomplete proteins. Why does someone need complete proteins? We need complete proteins because for protein synthesis to take place, you need all the what? All the essential amino acids together. So you can have foods that don't have all the essential amino acids or the incomplete proteins. The ones with all of them are called the complete proteins. So now the complete proteins, we usually get them from meat, and the incomplete proteins are usually in the plant-based sources. Everything that we eat here in our canteen, those plant things, they have incomplete amino acids, so they're incomplete proteins. So it's important to make for people on a plant-based diet. We're going to see plant-based diet for people who have obesity and people who have hypertension. So now, if someone is on a plant-based diet, how are they going to get all their complete amino acids? They're going to have to incorporate different kinds of vegetables, because not different kinds of vegetables, but different kinds of plants, because a certain plant can have these amino acids and another one has these different amino acids. They're not complete, but together they would be complete. So if you can educate your patients on how to, especially the vegetarians, on how to bring the two together and to have a more complete diet, that will be beneficial for them. That's for proper protein synthesis. Then we have something else called the nitrogen balance. So nitrogen balance is purely scientific. It's used to calculate how much protein that an individual needs. And nitrogen balance is the ratio of nitrogen intake to the nitrogen output in the urine and the feces. And a normal human being they usually have a nitrogen balance of 1. So it's in equilibrium. So there's also what we call a positive nitrogen balance and a negative nitrogen balance. So a negative nitrogen balance will occur in conditions whereby, like illnesses, infections, burns, trauma, or any chronic illnesses, someone will have a negative nitrogen balance. Do you know why this is? Well, a negative nitrogen balance is because of more protein breakdown. So you're breaking down more protein and you're excreting more protein in the feces. That occurs during trauma, burns, illnesses, etc. So that's the negative nitrogen balance. So why is this nitrogen balance important? It's important so that you can calculate how much protein that your body needs at that particular time. So you can focus on a client, on a patient, and decide to find out their nitrogen balance. But it requires them to fast, and then you take a full protein meal, and then you calculate how much nitrogen they have excreted in their feces and also in their urine, and you find out if it's positive or if it's negative. If it's positive, it means that their body is maintaining more protein and building more protein. Yeah, building more mass. Okay, more protein because there are different kinds of protein in the body and they have different functions. So then there are certain parameters that we have in the nitrogen balance. That's the biological value. That's how much protein has been absorbed in basic terms. Then the protein excretory ratio. The protein utilization ratio. That's the PER. That's the PER you see there. That is how much energy, how much protein has been taken in and has been used to build muscle and increase weight. You get that, eh? So it's basically you give someone a protein meal, and you measure that the amount of